a rural town where I was transferred to. I was sent away because I'm incompetent, that's what I thought. The one who reached out to me was a beautiful boss. I'm Ted, 28 years old. I work for a company that manufactures welfare equipment, but I was transferred from the head office and came to this rural town. I wanted to be of help to someone. That's why I joined this company. I was devoted to developing products for welfare equipment, but it seems that I, who was sent away, was indeed incompetent. When I entered the modest-sized office compared to the headquarters, there's a friendly atmosphere all around. So you're Ted, huh? Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah, assigned to assist you until you get accustomed. Feel free to ask if there's anything you don't understand. Sarah, 30, introduced herself in a composed manner. She's assigned to mentor me at this branch. How do I know her age? An older, seasoned clerk who's been at this branch for long told me. She looks stern, but is actually kind and hardworking. Very strict, but a trustworthy person. And although she's 30, I've never heard any rumors about her personal life. The clerk who told me this was watching Sarah with kind eyes, saying, "She's really a nice person, you know." What's up? Is there something on my face? Indeed, she's very beautiful. As I was staring at Sarah's face with such thoughts, she addressed me, seeming a bit annoyed. "No, it's nothing." I hastily replied, and she just said, "I see," and walked away to attend to a visitor. I went over the documents handed to me by Sarah, ingraining the information about the factory I'll be visiting on a later date in my mind. I never went to the manufacturing factory when I was working at the headquarters. It's my first time visiting a factory since I joined the company, and I'm already nervous. After finishing the unfamiliar tasks at the branch, I work on project proposals to submit to the headquarters. I really wanted to be involved in product development again. I stayed late every day, making sure I'm satisfied with my work, but not to the extent it interferes with my daily tasks. Today, once again, I get home late and grab some quick dinner. I should cook for myself sometimes. I glance at my kitchen, barely used, and mutter about needing to start cooking and managing my nutrition better. After eating and taking a shower, I reach for my bag. What I pull out are the documents for the client I'm visiting tomorrow. I read about the factory's philosophy and the features of the products they handle and drill it into my head. It's impressive. I can see how they care about every single material they use. The kinds of materials listed in the factory's brochure. It surprised me and piqued my interest with their quantity and detailed description of quality. I wondered what kind of process our products made in this factory go through to be completed. Then comes the morning of the day of the external visit. Of all days, the stress from the change of environment seems to be affecting my body. "Good morning, Ted. You don't look so well. Are you okay?" Sarah, usually so strict, seems to be worried and looks at me with concern. "I'm sorry, I'm fine." I acted bravely, not wanting to worry her. "Let's get going, Sarah." But Sarah still looked concerned. I didn't want to cause her any trouble, so I quickly finished preparing for the visit and hurried to leave. "Let me know if you start feeling worse." I guess she could tell I wasn't feeling great. She put some of the company's medicine in my bag, and I could help but smile. It was not just about seeing her kind side, but she also put a bunch of band-aids in there. When will I use those? I was smiling at her innate side. And so, we arrived at the manufacturing factory and completed greetings and the process check. The plant manager who showed us around was very personable. It was evident even to a newcomer like me. Embarrassingly, it was my first time seeing manufacturing process. While much of the manufacturing process involved machines, there were also numerous steps that required a human touch. I was impressed by the number of people involved from planning to manufacturing. Amazing, isn't it? Did you realize manufacturing a product and sending it to market aren't a simple task? Yes, I did. I was overwhelmed to see the manufacturing process for the first time. On the way back, Sarah, speaking to me, mentioned there were things that could be done because it was a branch office, speaking rather profoundly. There are things we can do because it's a branch office. For example, while listening to her, my eyes drifted to the opposite sidewalk. Charlie, a dog on the other side of the crosswalk, clucked remarkably like Charlie, the beloved dog of my family, who had recently passed away. Ted, are you listening? Ted, it's a red light. Before I knew it, I was crossing the street after the dog at a red light. Maybe because I wasn't feeling well, I didn't realize the light had turned red at that time. Ted. Sarah's voice sounded panicked, and as I turned around wondering what was going on. In that moment, I hear the sound of a blaring horn and find myself being shoved by Sarah, who had run in front of me. Next thing I knew, I was lying in the middle of the road, and a little away in the middle of the crosswalk, Sarah was also down. A distraught driver rushed over to Sarah and was calling somewhere. Through the noisy surroundings and blurry consciousness, I understood Sarah had been hit by the car. That's where my memory cut off. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital, informed by a nurse, who had come to change my IV, about the accident I'd been in and that I only had minor injuries, currently receiving an IV for exhaustion. Is the woman who helped me all right? What worried me was the absence of Sarah. At that time, Sarah had taken the hit instead of me. The image of her collapsing to the ground won't leave my mind. I kept telling myself she must be all right, but her not being here was making me anxious. The not-so-friendly nurse simply said she was fine and left. I felt relieved, at least, knowing she was safe. Once my IV was finished, I went to the room Sarah was in, as I was told. Sarah, it's dead. I knock and call out, and a woman who looks exactly like Sarah comes out. Who might you be? Caught off guard by her harsh tone, I'm pondering how to respond when Sarah helps me from inside the room. Mia, let him through, he's my co-worker. With that word, the reluctant woman let me in and left to finish her admission procedures. Sarah, I'm really sorry. The first thing out of my mouth is an apology for causing her injuries. I bowed my head and apologized repeatedly, but Sarah forgave me without blaming me. I'm glad you're safe, Ted. It's unlike you to cross on a red light. Did you see someone you know? Sarah had bruises on one leg and a broken arm. Fortunately, her head didn't take a heavy blow, and she regained consciousness quickly. Despite her condition, she's working on her laptop. Faced with her question, my expression clouded over. I saw a dog that looked just like my deceased pet and ran after it. I thought she might get mad for such a reason, but I've never been good at lying, so I told her the truth. I saw a dog that looked exactly like my pet, who passed away recently, and I ran after it despite the light being red. I'm sorry. I was ready to be scolded this time when I apologized for the second time, but she spoke to me again in a gentle voice. So that's what happened. That must have been tough. I widened my eyes at her unexpected words. It wouldn't be unreasonable if she scolded me for almost getting into an accident chasing a dog, thinking I was messing around. That's what I thought. But Sarah stopped typing on her computer and looked straight at me, and for some reason, my heart started to pound loudly. I'm done with the paperwork. At this, her returning younger sister shot me a glance as if surprised I was still there. She then quickly shifted her gaze back to Sarah and spoke about how her job was keeping her so busy that she couldn't visit every day, and that while she wanted to help out after the discharge, doing so daily would be difficult. Sarah smiles and says there's no need to worry, but I start to worry too, thinking about the challenges she must be facing trying to live as usual while restricted by her injuries. Knowing that all of this happened because of me, I found myself offering to help before I realized it. If it's not too much trouble, may I visit and help out with everyday tasks? The first to react to my sudden proposition was her younger sister. It would definitely be a problem. I don't want an unknown man coming in and out of my sister's apartment. She seemed to regard me as suspicious and got defensive. However, this reaction was probably natural. If I had a sister and were in the same situation, I would surely react the same way. I just wanted to be of some help, but I needed to think of another way. Thinking this, I was about to retract my earlier words when Sarah made an unexpected remark. If Mia is busy, maybe I should ask Ted to help. That way, he can also help with work at home. Her younger sister was trying her best to stop it, but with that one sentence from Sarah, my suggestion was accepted. Once she makes up her mind, she doesn't budge, it seems. Her younger sister, appearing resigned, started dividing responsibilities with me. She still had her guards up, so she took charge of the laundry, coming in once a week on rotation, and I would help with the other household chores after finishing work. Until the discharge, I would visit every day, reporting on work and delivering any requested items. If you harbor any inappropriate feelings toward my sister, I will never forgive you. Her younger sister, apparently very protective of her sibling, kept reiterating this point with utmost emphasis. Don't worry, and Sarah, thank you for understanding. I will do my best. Her younger sister, still wary, continued to glare at me, but Sarah bowed her head in a gesture of goodwill and smiled. Every day thereafter, I went to the hospital after finishing work. Wanting not to inconvenience her workplace, I would compile work documents for Sarah and deliver parcels received from her sister. Such days continued for 2 weeks, and Sarah was able to be discharged. Even after being discharged, she needed rehabilitation for a while, and to make sure she faced no inconvenience in her daily life, I continued visiting her every day after work. The only change was, instead of a hospital room, now it was Sarah's room. Ted, thank you for everything. It's been a big help having you cook and clean since it's difficult doing it all alone. At first, I myself was reluctant to enter a woman's apartment every day, but thanks to Sarah seeming not to mind at all, I quickly got used to it. It's only natural since I caused the injury. Really, don't worry about it. Our conversation remained casual, but every day I was impressed watching her work nonstop on her computer, even with her arm impaired. And as the days of visiting continued, I noticed something. Ted, did you put tea in the tea maker? That wasn't me. You made it yourself yesterday. It was, surprisingly, her clumsiness. There were numerous occasions where she nearly fell over nothing, and it had me on edge. Ted, this comedian is a must-watch. If the TV was on, she would immediately switch it to a comedy show and passionately discuss her recommended comedians. Occasionally, she would show an unguarded smile. Day by day, I was beginning to see Sarah as a member of the opposite sex. Of course, not in any inappropriate way. Who was supposed to be the reliable and capable boss seemed adorable and charming now. You're not doing anything with my sister, are you? Mia, the younger sister who comes over once a week to do laundry, has gotten along better with me than at first, but she still keeps a close eye to make sure I'm not slacking off. Don't worry, I don't have the nerve to do so. True. She's rude sometimes. It turned out Mia and I are the same age. Sarah seemed to wish we got along well. Even when we argued, she would watch us with a contented look. A few days later, after a long period of rehab, Sarah returned to work from today. I look forward to working with you again from today. Entering the office, colleagues had even prepared a cake happily celebrating Sarah's return. Amidst the festive mood enveloping the office, Sarah showed a soft smile I've never seen before. I feel my heart racing once again at that smile. Wondering if it's really racing, I placed my hand over my heart, but I stopped thinking about it as she pulled me into the circle to join the celebration. Even after that, I played a supportive role at the company for Sarah, who hasn't fully recovered. She graciously accepted my offer and has been leading a busy life. After work, I stayed back to work like before. The desire to return to the headquarters was strong, and I couldn't give up. When Mia, Sarah's younger sister, had a calm period at her work, I stopped going to Sarah's house to help out. Although slightly lonely, I allocated that time to work on project proposals, sparing even my sleep. It seems Sarah noticed my state, and one day during work, she took me out, saying she was going to visit clients. Do we not need to conduct the process checks, especially not doing anything in particular, just visiting clients and making small talk? There weren't the usual process checks or submissions of proposals, which seems odd. Today, we just need to show our faces. Observing and talking to the people working at the factory is enough. For Sarah, who's efficient in her work, this was an unusual schedule. I wondered what meaning there is in these seemingly pointless outside rounds. The answer remained elusive as work hours came to an end. Watching colleagues leaving earlier, I, as usual, stayed back alone to work on the proposal. "You're working hard, Ted." For some reason, I could hear Sarah's voice in the now empty office. Sarah, it's unusual for you to be here at this hour. You should go home early. Mia will be worried." She handed me a cup of coffee and sandwich. She practically forced me to eat, saying I should have something. Sarah, who bought one for herself too, starts a conversation before she began to eat. "Ted, I heard you were involved in product development at the headquarters. They say you were really dedicated." That was when I was at the headquarters. Yet why was I transferred to a rural branch? She says she was too curious and asked upper management directly about the reason. You may think you were transferred because you were incompetent, but that's a big misunderstanding. Her approach, as if she's seeing right through my heart, made me stop eating and look straight at Sarah. "The headquarters wants you to build a production line for the products." These were the words said to me when I was transferred by my boss at the time. But back then, I thought they were just words to console me. I thought it was just a pity to be transferred from the headquarters to a rural branch. I just assumed that and left the headquarters without saying anything. Now thinking back, I felt I was quite rude. That was just a comforting word. I couldn't comprehend, and Sarah continued her words. "Ted, you are a person who can show detailed consideration. I felt it during the period you were helping me. Not everyone can do that." Sarah said, "Even the bosses at the headquarters respected my consideration, and they thought I should be involved in the process of production." I knew the passion for product development, but only by interacting with the makers, we can make better things. And to support such people is what the company values the most, she taught me. Just submitting product plans and having them made. Such a relationship should not be taken for granted. For that reason, they want me to play a role in connecting the company and the makers. That's what Sarah told me. From that conversation, I realized the words my boss said to me at that time were not lies. At the same time, I realized that I was too attached to the title of the headquarters and missed many things. There are realities I wouldn't have known if I hadn't come to the branch. There must be many employees like me. So, Ted, you are not incompetent, you are expected. You were transferred to improve the future of the company. At her last words, tears came to my eyes. Because I thought I was incompetent. The tight string of needing to work hard was slowly cut, and I felt relieved. "I'm glad. I thought there was nothing I could do." While sobbing, Sarah gently stroked my back until I calmed down. And from this day forward, I decided to reconsider the way I work. I stopped sticking to the headquarters and increased my visits to clients. The bosses appreciated my consideration. If that can be of help to someone, save someone, and be reflected in my work, I want to do my best with what I can do now to lead to the development of better products. For that, the exchange of opinions between those who think and those who make is important. A place for interaction through the internet. I succeeded in creating such new connections between companies. However, another change came about within me after that. Despite finding a sense of purpose at work and living fulfilling days, I began to notice an increasing emptiness inside me day by day. I didn't know what it was. But it's always the alone time after I get home that I feel lonely. I've been living alone for a long time. Is it strange to feel lonely now? I wondered, but the moment I turned on the TV, I finally realized what this emptiness was. The channel I had changed unconsciously was showing a comedy show, and the food I made was for two. Yes, I still miss the seemingly short period when I went to help. What I recall is eating across from Sarah, absorbed in the TV on the sofa, and having casual conversations. I finally realized my feelings when I found myself looking for traces of Sarah. Then, I decided to contact her. To ask her if we can meet right now. We decided to meet near Sarah's house, at a stylish wine bar. Sarah, who said she loved wine, responded immediately that she would come. Sarah happily sipped her wine amidst my nervousness. As I was timing when to confess my feelings, she said, "Hey, Ted, when I'm alone in my room, I don't know why, but I feel lonely. I look for traces of when you were there, and I find myself wanting to see you. So, I like you. I wanted to tell you, so I did." To my surprise, it was Sarah who confessed her feelings to me. I was also taken aback because our feelings were mutual, and I couldn't help but widen my eyes. "Sarah, I feel the same way. I was lonely, looking for traces of you. I invited you today because I wanted to confess. You beat me to it, but I like you." My confession ended up being a bit messy. However, Sarah, realizing we felt the same way, turned red and broke into laughter, perhaps to hide her embarrassment. I also couldn't help but laugh, and a cheerful atmosphere enveloped us. And from that moment, we officially started dating. 3 years later, there was talk of me transferring to the headquarters, but I declined as I still wanted to focus on my work at the branch. Now, Sarah and I are walking slowly, arm in arm, down a straight path. If you make my sister cry, I won't forgive you. On both sides, friends and family from both our sides and colleagues were gathered, and Mia was clapping her hands in tears. Sarah, wrapped in a beautiful dress, smiled gently at Mia. Yes, we get married. Walking down the aisle, we savored our happiness. A new life is in Sarah's slightly swollen belly. Amidst the blessings, Sarah and I are excited about the happiness that